This is another demo screencast, this time for a demo lesson on John 3, a passage which, as we'll see, commentators say is full of many ambiguities and ironies, which are worth exploring. Among the ambiguities and ironies that commentators point out are the contradictions of the character of Nicodemus. This is a character who is not simply one thing or the other, but seems to span some tensions. Among them, he's a Jewish leader in a book in which Jewish leaders are pretty hostile towards Jesus. They are opponents. And yet Nicodemus seems to come as somewhat of a supporter, or at least a curious inquirer, wondering what Jesus has to say and thinking that Jesus might have the answers he's looking for. Similarly, as a Jewish leader and a teacher, he's supposed to have the answers, and Jesus says that to him. You're a teacher, you should know this. And yet Nicodemus comes with lots of questions and says, I don't understand this. How can this be? Finally, he's someone who's seen the light. He says to Jesus, I think you have the truth, and yet he remains in the darkness. He doesn't seem to get it. He actually is in the literal darkness as he comes at night, which commentators say has lots of significance to show that Nicodemus remains in the darkness of not understanding. More ambiguity in the word anathen, and we may be dealing with some word play here. The Greek can mean either born again or born from above. Which is it? Is it both? Some commentators say that Nicodemus misunderstands the wordplay here and says, what do you mean born again, when Jesus is actually saying born from above? In any case, we're dealing with a very mysterious idea here of rebirth that comes from God. It's kind of ironic that this is the phrase that Christians take away from this passage and seem to have a pretty definite idea of exactly what it means, when in fact we're dealing with a real mystery here and certainly some ambiguity in the translation of the Greek. More ambiguity and more wordplay. In the word pneuma, the Greek word can mean either wind or spirit. It means both. And so when Jesus says the wind blows where it will, and you hear the sound it makes, but you don't know where it's going, so it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. Both wind and spirit are actually pneuma, the same word. English readers of this text don't hear that and miss out on some of this wordplay. That has to be brought to light by looking at the Greek, as commentators point out. Finally, the irony of the bumper sticker. As we just said, the phrase born again and the idea of being born again is a very mysterious idea that confuses even this expert Jewish leader, and yet often we walk away from this passage thinking we have a very definite idea of what born again is. As O'Day and Highland say, that born again has become a catchword in Christianity, and yet many Christians' use of this word does not capture the richness of what Jesus is saying. So in reading this passage, commentators say we in a sense have to humble ourselves and be prepared to encounter mystery and ambiguity and irony as we hear these words from Jesus.